Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of challenging research and really try to distill it down to the essential, surprising, and actionable knowledge you need right now.
And today, we are diving deep into the psychology of persistence. The topic is something I think, well, basically everyone experiences.
Mm.
Starting a big learning goal, maybe a language, a tough skill, with all this massive
Yeah,
enthusiasm.
that initial burst.
Exactly. Only to, watch that motivation just flicker out and die.
It happens all the time. The books gather dust, the app notifications start feeling like, well, reminders of failure, and we just mentally file it away under someday. So our mission today is to look beyond motivation, to find a concrete, reliable system. We've synthesized sources combining specific language learning advice with these universal principles of consistency, drawing heavily from atomic habits.
That's right. We're not looking for quick motivation hacks today.
Yeah.
Motivation, it comes and goes, systems endure. We're really focused on uncovering the necessary system to maintain that consistency over the long haul. The sources we looked at are absolutely clear. Successful long-term learning. It depends entirely on creating a system and, maybe surprisingly, strategically engineering your daily environment.
Okay, let's get real about this then. The core idea here seems to be accepting that learning something like a language, it's just a long game.
It really is.
The polyglots we studied, they estimate reaching what they call comfortable fluency, where you can actually use the language without constantly translating in your head, stressing out that takes roughly 2 years.
2 years of consistent effort, yeah. You really can't rush that timeline.
So that initial enthusiasm, while great, it's just not enough fuel for the whole journey.
Not even close. It's like
Right.
a temporary boost. According to our sources, successful language learning stands on four main pillars. First, it's got to be fun, enjoyable.
Right.
Second, you need enough contact, enough exposure. Third, you need methods that actually work, effective methods. And fourth, and this is the key bit, you need a powerful system.
And the lack of that last one, the system, that's what trips most people up.
Universally cited as the reason people fail.
Yeah. I really liked the metaphor one source used. Learning a language is like trying to row away from an isolated island across this wide, kind of unpredictable sea.
It captures that struggle perfectly, doesn't it? The island is, where you are now, limited by what you know.
Mm-hmm.
As you row out, you hit the waves, that really tough beginner and intermediate stage, the A0 to B1 level maybe, where you know just enough grammar to be frustrated.
Ah, yeah, know that feeling.
But not enough vocabulary to really say what you want easily. You have to row really intensely, consistently, to get past those waves into the open sea. If you stop rowing, even for a little
The
bit,
waves just pull you back.
right back to the island.
Yeah. The struggle is definitely real, especially staring down like verb conjugation tables or something. So, okay, the emotional struggle is clear, but the sources also give us some hard data to kind of fight that mental drag.
Yes, this is where the payoff of consistency becomes really clear, quantifiable. We're talking about the compounding effect of habits.
Ah, the 1% better idea.
Exactly. This is why the system matters so much more than just occasional intense effort.
Mm.
If you commit to improving by just 1% every single day, it sounds tiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you end the year 37 times better than when you started. That's the mathematical reward of sticking with it.
That really shifts the focus to the process, doesn't it? Not just the big end goal. It sounds like we need a pretty fundamental shift in how we even define our goals.
We absolutely do. So instead of setting these huge result-based goals like, I want to pass the B2 exam in 6 months,
Which can feel overwhelming.
totally. You have to shift your focus entirely to identity-based habits.
Okay, let's unpack that. Identity-based habits. The sources talk about 3 layers of change: outcomes, processes, and identity. Why is focusing on the identity part so much more powerful?
Because real lasting change means becoming the type of person who just naturally does the thing you want to do.
Okay.
If your identity is still like, I'm a busy person who tries to study sometimes,
Right.
well, you'll always find reasons why being busy wins.
Yeah.
But if you shift that identity to, I am a dedicated language learner, or I am a reader, your brain actually starts looking for ways to prove that identity true.
Can you give an example?
Yeah.
How does that identity shift change what you actually do day to day?
Sure. So instead of, I want to finish this Spanish course, you adopt the identity, I'm a Spanish speaker. Even if you're just beginning.
Okay.
Or instead of, I have to read this book, it's, I am a reader of literature in French.
Yeah.
Every tiny, consistent win, reading 1 page, learning 5 words, it reinforces that new identity. You're building this sort of invisible architecture for your life
Hmm.
around this new self-concept.
Okay, so we've got the identity shift. Now we need the architecture, the system.
Yeah,
And that brings us to the framework, the 4 laws of behavior change. We need to set things up so learning is obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
exactly. Let's start with making it obvious. This is all about using reliable cues and triggers that are already part of your day.
So leveraging existing routines.
Precisely. The sources strongly recommend learning at a regular set time, like maybe dedicating 20 minutes every single morning before you even look at your email.
Protect that time.
Make it sacred. Carve it out before the day's chaos just, takes over.
And you mentioned triggers. How do we use things we already do, the non-negotiables, to cue the learning habit?
That's habit stacking. You literally attach the new habit you want to build onto one you already have down pat.
Like,
You already commute, right?
right.
Or walk the dog. Okay, that's your trigger to listen to that 20-minute language podcast. Or say you always check email first thing. Stack reviewing vocabulary, maybe from a word of the day email, right onto that existing habit.
You're linking the momentum.
Exactly. Linking the energy of the old routine to the new one. And visibility is key too.
Making the materials impossible to ignore.
Absolutely. Put your language books, flashcards, whatever, right where you'll trip over them.
Huh.
One really specific tip I liked was putting your alarm clock or your phone inside your textbook or notebook.
Oh, that's clever.
You literally have to touch the learning material just to turn the alarm off. And also remember, a system is proactive. Don't just set reminders for your study time. Set a reminder to actually schedule that conversation practice with your partner.
Good point. Okay, next up. Making it easy. This seems to tackle procrastination head on, right? That feeling that the task is just too big or too hard.
Yes, it's all about reducing friction, making it almost effortless to start.
And that's the 2-minute rule.
That's the genius of it. Reduce the very first action to something that takes less than 2 minutes. And the key thing is the goal isn't necessarily to finish the big task right then.
Just to start.
Just to start. So instead of, I need to read for 30 minutes, your starting habit is, I will read one sentence, or I will open my flashcard app.
I like that because it removes that huge weight of expectation, that, I have to sit down for an hour feeling, turns the mountain into a tiny step.
Exactly. Starting is the gateway. For language learning, this means reducing friction. Queue up the podcast before your commute, open the website before your scheduled time, have the book ready.
So when the time comes, there's zero barrier.
Zero obstacles. Just do it.
Okay, obvious, easy. Now, attractive. This feels crucial. If it's not enjoyable, the best system in the world will probably fall apart.
Absolutely. If that textbook everyone recommended bores you to tears, ditch it. Find something else.
Like articles on a topic you love or videos.
Yes. Choose texts, videos, apps that you genuinely find interesting. And this connects back to that first pillar, fun. But we can systematize fun too using temptation bundling.
Pairing something you have to do with something you want to do.
Right. You combine the necessary learning activity with something you already enjoy. For example, you only let yourself watch your favorite Netflix show if you watch it with target language subtitles or audio.
Okay.
Or maybe you only listen to that album you love while you're reviewing your flashcards. Your brain starts to associate the learning with pleasure.
So the learning becomes almost a side effect of the enjoyment. Clever.
It smooths the path.
Okay, that helps get things started and makes it less of a chore. Now let's talk about keeping it going. Maintenance. We've made it obvious, easy, attractive. How do we manage consistency long term and avoid that burstiness cycle, where you're super productive for a week, then crash?
We fight that crash by making the effort satisfying. This is about the psychological reward. Seeing progress is often way more motivating than waiting for the final distant outcome.
So like gamifying it.
Exactly. First, track your progress. Visually record your study time, even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes a day.
Oh, like a calendar?
A simple calendar, a journal, an app, doesn't matter. Just seeing that streak grow, seeing the chain of X's,
Yeah.
it's incredibly satisfying. Creates this internal pressure like, I don't want to break the chain.
Yeah, that makes sense. It turns it from an obligation into a little daily win.
That's the immediate reward. And then, within the study session itself, structure helps. Use the Pomodoro technique.
25 minutes on, 5 minutes off.
Right. 25 minutes of focused, no distractions work. Then a genuine 5-minute break. It stops you from burning out, keeps things feeling manageable.
And accountability, the source mentioned that too.
Crucial. Find a learning partner. even if they're learning a different language.
Yeah.
Just someone for mutual support, advice, and to hold each other accountable. And critically, make sure you actually practice speaking. The goal is communication, right? Not just knowing grammar rules.
Absolutely. Okay, and then there's the rule that seemed, well, almost like the cornerstone for long-term success. The absolute rule is never miss 2 days in a row.
That's the ultimate safety net for the whole system.
Yeah.
It's totally normal, expected even, that you'll miss a day sometimes. Life happens, emergencies, illness, deadlines.
Sure.
But that one missed day cannot become two. That's the danger zone. You absolutely must find time the very next day, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, to have some kind of contact with the language.
Why is that tiny interaction so important psychologically?
It maintains the momentum. It keeps the identity alive. See, when you miss one day, it's an exception. When you miss two, you start thinking, oh, I'm the kind of person who doesn't study anymore.
The identity shift reverses.
Exactly. That brief contact on day two reinforces, no, I am still doing this. Today was just a small blip. It makes getting back to the full routine the day after that much easier.
Okay, let's bring this all together then. For someone listening, how do they apply these system principles, identity, obvious, easy, attractive, satisfying, to actual effective language learning methods? What does a day look like?
It means structuring your learning around these concrete habits. For listening, you stack that 20-30 minutes of podcast listening onto your commute or watch one episode of a series daily, maybe with target language subtitles at first.
Okay.
For reading, you find those dual language books or articles you actually like, and maybe your 2-minute habit is just reading one paragraph.
And vocabulary.
Use flashcards, physical ones, or an app like Anki. Systematically review them. Maybe stack that onto checking your email. The point is consistency, even in small doses, always wins over occasional heroic efforts.
So besides fluency itself, what's the big reward for sticking with this kind of disciplined system?
It's escaping what I call the blue box of frustration.
Okay.
It's that painful zone many learners get stuck in. They know what they technically should know, the grammar rules, some words, but actually using it feels incredibly hard, requires huge mental effort just to retrieve a word or form a sentence. It's high effort, low reward.
Right. That constant mental translation and second guessing.
Exactly. Reaching comfortable fluency isn't just about speaking well, it's about getting to the point where you can stop consciously thinking about the mechanics of the language.
It just flows.
It becomes natural. And when you reach that point, typically 1 to 3 years, remember you've basically prevailed over that final wave. You can use the language without the constant stress, and honestly, you won't really forget it even after a long break.
So what this really means for you, the listener, is that success isn't about some massive single achievement. It's the inevitable result of these small, daily, system-driven actions that line up with the kind of persistent, capable person you've decided to become.
You now have the tools, the system, the architecture to get out of that frustrating zone.
Yeah.
You don't need more willpower tomorrow, you just need a better strategy.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with today. Think about your day. Identify just one solid, existing daily habit, making coffee, checking email, your commute, whatever, and commit, starting tomorrow, to stacking just a tiny 2-minute language task onto it. So which habit will you choose to kickstart your consistent streak?
Before you go, remember this. Every word you learn makes you stronger. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You'll find more lessons, more stories, and more English practice to help you feel confident in any situation. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who might need it. Let's keep learning together. See you in the next lesson.